I'm Donna, an OpenSciEd teacher. Today we'll be going over B.4 Lesson 5. This lesson is a huge milestone for the students because they're going to figure out how to take the evidence from the last few lessons and develop generalized statements for how non-human populations change over time. We're going to see how we got here, lesson at a glance, key moments, and material management tips and tricks. All right, starting with how we got here. So during lesson 4, we figured out that boldness in juncos is inherited and it has a negative relationship with the hormone court. In this lesson, we're wondering, how can we make sense of the way urbanization could have caused changes in the non-human species? All right, lesson at a glance. So this is a putting pieces together lesson, should take 2 days, 5-minute material preparation, making copies. No hands-on investigation, does not require devices, and has no additional related videos. All right, these sense-making loops. We've got 2 sense-making loops in this lesson with 4 key takeaways. So let's see those in more detail. All right, loop 1. We're first going to start by revisiting what we learned from the previous lesson. Then we're going to create a gotta have it checklist as a class. We're going to develop our group model, have a gallery walk, revise our group models, and then come together as a class for a consensus discussion and to develop a class consensus model. We're going to figure out that all populations have genetic variation and that selection pressures act on these differences to cause differential reproduction and survival. And we're left wondering, are there any other models that support ours? Which leads to sense-making loop 2, where we will compare our class model to other explanations. And then we're going to revisit the driving question board and then think about how can we apply our class consensus model to a new phenomenon. We're going to figure out that our class consensus model is most like Darwin's theory of evolution through natural selection. So what we're figuring out through this lesson, all populations have heritable variation in individuals, selection pressure in urban environments act on these variations, and that our consensus model is similar to Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. All right, 4 key moments to highlight. All right, after revisiting what we learned in the previous lesson, we're going to head to part 2, which is creating the gotta have it checklist. This checklist is going to be a list of components and interactions that the students are going to want to include in their group model. For example, a component would be genetic variations and an interaction would be selection pressures and how is it affecting the genetic variations favorability. And we're really thinking about how can we group and generalize what we learned. So how can we make a general statement about the juncos, the rats, and the hawksbeards? How can we make a general statement about the differences between the individuals in the species, the differences in the rats, the differences in the juncos? For example, fragmentation, poison, and fear, these could all be grouped together as selection pressures. All right, part 3. Students are going to develop their group models. They're going to work in groups of 4 to 5 students, lots of brains working here. I find it helpful and it is advised to put the components on sticky notes. It's going to make it easier for the students to manipulate, move things around. And I personally have found that when I use sticky notes, the students there's less fear of doing it the wrong way because they're like, oh, it's a sticky note. I can move this around. I can change it. Seems to be much more manageable. We're going to be seeing in these group models that over many generations, the proportion of favorable traits in a population is increasing, no matter what the species was. And we're really thinking about this question, how can we make our model apply to any scenario or all populations? So instead of just listing out, here's all the evidence we've got, this is what we learned about the rats, this is what we learned about the juncos, we're looking for patterns so that we can then apply that to other new situations or phenomena. All right, part 8, we're going to have our consensus discussion and develop our class consensus model. We're going to compare the group models, identifying larger themes and mechanisms that we're seeing across many models. And again, we're building that consensus model to explain how urbanization is a driving force for change in non-human populations. So sometimes I find it helpful to have that written out on the whiteboard or post it somewhere. And a big idea that my students figure out is that variation can be positive, negative, or neutral. That the favorability of a variation in a population isn't determined until you have the selection pressure there. All right, part 9, we're going to compare our class model to explanations that already exist. I usually like to segue this by asking, would it be useful to compare our models to other theories? This is what we've developed together as a class. Do we think other scientists have developed their own theories? Should we compare ours to theirs? And we're going to introduce those other explanatory ideas, which are Lamarck's and Darwin's theories of evolution. The students should be recognizing that changes to physical features that occur during a lifetime are not necessarily heritable. Just because someone works out a ton, this is the example I give my students, just because someone works out a ton and builds a ton of muscle doesn't guarantee that their offspring are going to have just as many muscles. We're going to figure out that our consensus model is most like Darwin's theory, and then we're going to revise that definition of natural selection that we wrote down previously. So where do we go from here? We recognize that our model supports Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. So now we're wondering, can we apply what we know to a new phenomenon? We've created this generalized consensus model for how populations change over time with selection pressures. Can we take that knowledge and apply it to one of my favorite transfer tasks, antibiotic resistance, which is what lesson 6 will be about. All right, material management tips and tricks. All right, individual change versus populations. So I talked about this a little bit just a minute ago with a lot of my students get caught on the idea of individual change versus populations. And again, I love to use the example of someone who's working out, or maybe an individual who's a long distance runner. So thinking about like something that you work hard on, you develop over time, and you get better at. And I then ask them like, okay, so now is the offspring also going to be a long distance runner? Be like, there might be some genetics there that like lead to a predisposition, but it doesn't guarantee that for the next generation. That we're really looking at how is a population changing over time, not just how an individual is changing over time. All right, and then generalizing our knowledge can be challenging. I typically actually give a little bit extra time for the gotta have it checklist, as well as the first time that they're creating their group models, because I spend a lot of time walking around and asking them questions, pushing back on their models, so that way they can start to see those patterns. And asking them, what do they have in common? All right, you've got these 3 things here together because you recognize that they're similar. So how are they similar? And now we're starting to create our generalized model. All right, personal glossary management. We are going to co-construct evolution, and we're going to revise the natural selection, and then we're going to encounter the word theory. We're going to need the class consensus model and the driving question board from previous lessons. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching the video. This might seem, at least that's the way it appeared to me the first time I was teaching this unit, that this is a lesson that I'm like, all right, maybe I can skip this to save some time. But my students have the most meaning making from this lesson. And it really sets them up for success in the lesson 6 transfer task. And we usually have a lot of fun developing our class consensus model and seeing, wow, we're just as smart as those other scientists in the models that they came up with. So thank you so much, and you got this.